Meeting, we are also providing communication access real-time translation, also known as CART. Anyone who would like to access this service should send an email to the RTD Board Office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com, and a link will be provided. Additionally, the CART transcript can be automatically translated into Spanish for anyone who would like to access to a live transcript of this meeting in Spanish. Our first order of business is the installation of our recently elected and re-elected board members. I am pleased to welcome the Honorable Judge Frederick Martinez, who will officiate for us and will administer the oath of office to the incoming directors. While Judge Martinez has retired from the bench, we are very grateful for his participation in tonight's ceremonies. Judge Martinez graduated from the University of Colorado School of Law. Judge Martinez joined the State of Colorado Public Defender's Office before later becoming a partner and a litigator in a Denver-based law firm for 20 years. In 2014, Judge Martinez was appointed by Governor Hickenlooper as a district court judge for the 18th Judicial District, where he served until 2023. He currently serves as a member of staff of arbiters at the Judicial Arbiter Group, JAG. In a moment, I will ask all directors who were elected or re-elected during the 2024 general election to stand and move to the center of the room. For our in-person and remote attendees, please note that the swearing in will take a few moments as we need to get each director to sign their oath of office and take an opportunity for photos. With that, I'd like to invite our newly elected directors and ask them to move to the center of the room. Judge Martinez, I will now turn the proceedings over to you. Please proceed when you are ready. Thank you.
So for the new directors to line up right here, you'll take your oaths simultaneously verbally, and then we'll have individual oaths for you to sign once you've all given your verbal oath.
This is a big day. Congratulations. If you would, raise your right hand. And there's a few things that you will have to just say individually, such as your name, your address, and your district. So, I, name.
I, Kathleen Chandler,
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
do solemnly swear or affirm
That I am an elector.
that I am an elector
Who resides at.
who resides at
State your address.
29415 East Mansfield Drive, Aurora, Colorado, 80015.
All together now. Which is within the Regional Transportation District.
Which is in the Regional Transportation District
And within Director District.
and within District F,
The City and County of Denver. From which I was elected.
in the City and County of Denver, Aurora.
Aurora, or whatever city that may be. That I will support the constitutions of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
And of the state of Colorado.
and of the state of Colorado.
And that I will faithfully perform.
And that I will faithfully perform
The duties of the office of director.
the duties of the office of director
Of the Regional Transportation District.
of the Regional Transportation District,
To which I have been elected.
to which I have been elected.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. So I will distribute the oaths to your location where you're sitting, but if anybody has any family here that we would like to have,
Well, it looks like we are all done. Congratulations, directors. And thank you once again, Judge Martinez, for presiding over this oath of office. So we very much appreciate it. I will now call the roll. Director Banker. Present. Thank you. Director Bouquet.
Present.
Director Busick.
Here.
I am Peggy Catlin, and I am here. Director Chandler.
Present.
Director Geisinger.
Here.
Director Gutschenritter, excuse me. Gutschenritter, I practiced. Director Guzman.
I am here.
Director Harwick.
I am also here.
Director Larson.
I'm here.
Director Nicholson.
I'm here.
Director O'Keefe.
I'm here.
Director Pagliari.
Present.
Director Rusha.
I'm here.
And Director Whitmore.
Present.
For the record, with 15 present, both in person and virtually, we have a quorum. Next is our public participation period, which is open to anyone who would like to address the board. As we have both in-person and remote attendees, in-person comments will go first, followed by those who are participating remotely. For those attending in person, please come up to the podium when your name is called. If you have not already signed up to speak and would like to do so, please approach the podium when I call for any additional speakers. For those attending virtually, if you wish to speak and have not already done so, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 on your phone. Staff will unmute you when it is your turn to speak. If you are dialed in, press *6 to toggle your mute settings. Please bear in mind that by participating in this process, you are being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, then your comments will have to be submitted in writing. If any speaker has documentation or reference materials for the board, or if any member of the public would like to submit written comments, please email those materials to the board office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com. During this time, the board will not offer any direct comments or responses. However, if you would like to be contacted regarding your public comment, please email the board office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com. Speakers should begin their remarks by stating their names, and they will have up to 3 minutes to provide their comments. The first speaker that is signed up to speak is Mr. Lance Longenbahn. Mr. Longenbahn, would you please come up to the podium? State your name and then you may proceed.
Good evening and congratulations. I'm Lance Longenbahn, president of ATU 1001. I'm going to speak a little louder because I know sitting back there I often have a hard time hearing, and I want everyone to hear me. This is RTD's highly skilled and engaged workforce. They're here to let you see the faces of the people that sacrifice for RTD and its customers every day. These are the employees who you honor with your statement of appreciation, who are the lifeblood of the agency, who do extraordinary things every day, who deliver transit excellence to the community, and who do all of this during stressful moments. They're here because they'd like you to hear from them. They'd like to tell you about every day on the job, doing the things that we say we appreciate them for. They'd like to tell you about cleaning buses with needles and drugs. They'd like to tell you about fixing buses with dangerous equipment. They'd like to tell you about not having enough time to go to the bathroom. They'd like to tell you about being forced to work 6 days a week for years. They'd like to tell you about working through a pandemic and then being threatened with layoffs. They'd like to tell you about living paycheck to paycheck. They'd like to tell you about every day going home from work. And they'd like to tell you about their ATU 587 brother, Sean Yim, who didn't get to go home from work because he was stabbed to death by one of the passengers on his bus. They'd like to tell you a lot, but they know that you have business to conduct, and they're not here to be disruptive. So they'll just tell you that your highly skilled workforce is still here, waiting for you to honor your statement of appreciation by taking action to demonstrate your gratitude, commitment, and support of them, the dedicated servants of the agency.
Thank you, Mr. Longenbaum. We appreciate your comments, and we also appreciate all of you who have shown up this evening in support of your fellow workers and for all the good work you do. So we very much appreciate it. And when we acknowledge you on a monthly basis, it is certainly heartfelt. So thank you for coming tonight. Our next speaker is James Flatham.
Hi there. My name is James Flatham. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm speaking as a transit advocate and an E-Line rider. I just want to say, first of all, huge congratulations to all of the new RTD board members and to the returning RTD board members. I want to offer a heartfelt thank you. There are a lot of challenges that RTD faces right now. And I think you can see by a lot of the needs that are represented in this room and the needs that are not. This is going to be a huge year. So thank you for doing this. I know that this is an incredibly difficult job. We as advocates don't always make it very easy for you. So thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to RTD staff. Thank you for listening to riders. And let's have a hell of a 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flatham. Board Office Executive Manager Jack Kroll, has anyone raised their virtual hand?
At this time, Director Catlin, I do not see anyone present who has joined via Zoom that has raised their hand in desire of providing public comment.
Thank you. Were there any emailed comments received for today's meeting?
Yes, and I before I announce the letters that were received via email, I do want to note, Director Catlin, that we may have some in-person attendees who may wish to also provide public comment that did not sign up. And so if there are folks that are here that want to provide public comment, the standard procedure is that you will line up over there behind the podium, and we will get to you as soon as I read out these emailed comments that we received. So the board did receive 3 emailed comments in advance of tonight's meeting. One was in relation to the I-25 and Broadway Station pedestrian path you have heard about previously. Another was in relation to comments regarding the collective bargaining agreement negotiations with ATU. And the third, I am unfortunately blanking on at this moment. Yes, the Denver Mayor's Office received a letter regarding the federal Boulevard BRT project that they forwarded to the board's office for response. To clarify, many of the things contained in that letter don't necessarily fall under the auspices of RTD because the question was about the roadway design and construction. Obviously, RTD will run the buses on top of that, but does not necessarily influence directly the roadway construction there.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. I think we can wait a moment to see if anyone would like to queue up at the podium to speak.
Yeah, I know, yeah, we have Keith Brooks here. But if there's anyone else, please, visibly make your way over to the podium. And I see we have another gentleman here too.
I just want to add, and I don't need to say this, is not only were we mandated for 6 days, I can't tell you how many times I missed my twin daughter's birthday, including the graduation party that I paid for, because I have never been late to work. I've never taken occurrence. I have been a true patron of RTD, and I think a lot of these people sacrifice a lot that maybe you take for granted. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sir, please state your name, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, for all the new faces. I'm Keith Brooks. New board, who dis? So, 2025 is here, and I'd like to make the theme of this comment opportunities. There's a lot of things that RTD is facing right now that could be described as challenges or liabilities, but at least for tonight, I'd like to reframe as opportunities. We have a legislative session coming up, which, depending on who tries to pull what, could be a threat, but it could also be a real opportunity. We have the next iteration of the 10-year plan since the 2016 plan is coming up. That is a real opportunity. We can even view things like every absence from the C-suite all the way down to bus operators and rail operators, both as a liability, but I would say tonight as an opportunity. Each one is a chance for a new view, a new perspective, and a new member of the RTD team. I look forward to commenting for the foreseeable future for all of you new ones. And I'm looking forward to a very productive and very uplifting 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Good evening and congratulations to all the new board directors and to our CEO, Ms. Johnson. My name is Frankel Christian and I work out of East Metro. I am a bus operator. And I just wanted to say on behalf of myself and the operators, we are being exposed to illegal drugs on the buses. I have been exposed 4 times. We stand out in all types of weather waiting to relieve another driver so they can go home. And I just wanted you guys to take that into consideration. We are the front line of RTD. We are the face of RTD. When everybody think of RTD, they think of us. When they go through something with RTD, rather it's, them trying to get back in the day the eco passes or day passes or whatever they're trying to get and they're frustrated, we are the ones that they vent to. When they have a rough day at work or at home, we are the ones that they vent to. A lot of times we are doctors, lawyers, nurses. We're everything in that seat. And though we all love doing what we do, we just want you guys to take that into consideration. Economy has gotten hard and it's already stressful enough for us out there. And if you take it into consideration, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any others who would like to address the board this evening? Please come to the podium and state your name.
Good evening. And welcome to RTD. Thank you. The first thing I really have to say, I would be remiss if I didn't come up here. Deborah Johnson, I'm Renee Rick Stamps. Since the beginning of Deborah coming here, She has communicated with me about different things within the operation, our bathrooms, any need I had, even my personal needs. I've been dealing with cancer and tongue cancer. And I've watched RTD take me through all that. They held my hand. This is my family. You are now our family. We elected you to support us. So that is what we expect. I don't want to see anything less than what I have already been given. That would be a slap in my face. We are skilled. I have numerous degrees, still got some stuff coming. My mother was actually part of Brown versus the Board of Education. She was that child in Wilmington, Delaware. Transportation means everything to me. When I'm out there on Colfax, which I've been since I got hired, it's been 11 years. I've been dedicated to that family. They are people. We are people. We're not just here to do 9 to 5. We're out here to get that job done, to do that work for the people. So I just want to thank you, Deborah, for holding my hand. I want to thank my family for holding my hand. I don't want to see our benefits do anything less than they have already done, because otherwise I probably can't survive. I'm still dealing with what I'm dealing with. And I can honestly say my last treatment was December the 26th, my last CAT scan, and there is no cure for lung cancer. They don't see the cancer anymore. So I thank you, and I thank RTD.
Thank you, and thank you for your continued service despite some of your challenges. We appreciate it. Are there any others? Okay. With no other participants in the queue, we will close the public participation period at this time. Now, as stated in the board bylaws, in the first official meeting of the year, the board will elect the executive committee officers, which are our chair, our first vice chair, our second vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. You have all received a memo defining the process by which we will elect our executive committee officers for 2025. We will begin with the position of chair and will work our way through this process for all of the executive committee offices. Those board members who nominate candidates, as well as those seconding nominations, if any, and any other speakers, will have up to 3 minutes to speak regarding the candidates for each position. For each office, I will ask for nominations. When there are no additional nominations, the nomination phase will close, and a call will be made for a vote utilizing paper ballots that Mr. Kroll will distribute and later collect. We do have someone remote, and that participant can text their vote to General Counsel Melanie Snyder, and she will subsequently fill out a paper ballot and put it in the mix with the rest of the ballots to preserve anonymity. After the paper ballots are collected, General Counsel Melanie Snyder, in coordination with 2 directors chosen by me who are not candidates for the office in question, will serve as co-election monitors. General Counsel Snyder and the chosen directors will tally the votes, and General Counsel Snyder will announce name of the director who received at least 8 votes. If no candidate for a given office receives at least 8 votes, we will repeat the voting process. If we proceed into additional rounds of voting, board members who wish to speak further on a particular candidate by providing new or additional information may do so at that time. Again, each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. If only one director is nominated for a given office, the board may proceed to approve the nominee by acclamation rather than using the voting system. As the board's current vice chair, I will serve as the presiding officer over all elections, and once all officer elections are complete, I'll turn the meeting over to the newly elected board chair. Are there any objections or questions regarding this process? Okay, seeing no further discussion, we'll move forward with the process as defined. At this time, we will proceed to nominations for chair of the board. Are there any nominations?
Madam Chair, Chair Catlin and fellow directors now, I'd like to nominate Julian Bouquet for this very important role. Julian had the strange position of being one against the seven new directors. He was the only returning director on the ballot. And he's done an excellent job bridging that group into RTD, and I think he would be an incredible candidate and chair for 2025. And so with that, I nominate Director Bouquet.
Thank you, Director O'Keefe. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'd be pleased to second the nomination.
Thank you, Director Whitmore. Are there any other nominations for chair? Seeing only one nominee for the position of chair, I would like to see if there is any objection to holding this election by acclamation. Seeing no objection, I'd like to call for the, it says call for the vote, but I believe that we can just say we're deciding by acclamation. All those in favor of the position of the chair?
Aye.
Perfect. Sorry for the clumsiness. Congratulations, Director Bouquet. So we don't have to appoint two directors to act as, all right. So at this time, we're going to move on to the nominations for first vice chair. Are there nominations?
Madam Chair,
Director Whitmore.
I am pleased to nominate Patrick O'Keefe to this position as first vice chair. Some of us have not known him for a long time, and he comes with a very impressive resume. Makes him very fit for this position. 8 years working in Washington, D.C., including 6 years on Capitol Hill for a Colorado congressman. He helped secure original Southwest Corridor funding. 25 years, he doesn't even look that old, 25 years working in the infrastructure industry, including 2 decades in senior management of one of the largest engineering and construction firms, and nearly 5 years running his own consulting firm. Direct experience managing the billion-dollar National Western Center construction project and working on several additional projects, including projects at Denver International Airport, London 2012 Olympics, and several large environmental projects, and also has served as a corporate secretary in integrating multiple acquisitions across several countries. So with that, I'm pleased to nominate Patrick O'Keefe for first vice chair.
Thank you, Director Whitmore. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Geisinger. Are there any other nominations for first vice chair? Again, seeing only one nominee for the position of first vice chair, I would like to see if there's any objection to holding this election by acclamation. Is that a yes, there's an objection? What? Okay. Thank you. Director Binger. So seeing no objection, I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor of Director O'Keefe for first vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. It'll be trial by fire. Okay, now I'd like to proceed to the nominations for second vice chair. Is there a nomination?
Yes, ma'am.
Director Geisinger, please.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Director Whitmore for second vice chair. Shall I go ahead?
Please.
Get back to my notes here, sorry. Well, I'll start by saying that Troy Whitmore is the definition of public service in many ways to his community. He's a former Thornton City Council member, former chair of the Metro North Chamber of Commerce and the Brighton Economic Development Corporation. He's been chair of the School District 27J Bond Advisory Commission and many other things. I think he was elected Man of the Year or something by the chamber in that area. Yeah, that's right. And once in the RTD board, Troy and I had the opportunity to serve together as the liaison with the Legislative Accountability Committee. He takes his work seriously. He did a great job. He's also been chair or vice chair of operations committees of various names for a number of years. He was board treasurer, and he will make a great second vice chair.
Thank you, Director Geisinger. Is there a second?
I will
Madam
second
Chair, I'd
that.
second that.
Oh, I was first, sir.
All right, Joanne, I'll third that then.
All right, as there is a second by Joanne Rusha.
You know, she was like, just ready.
She was just a hair ahead of you there. So, thank you, Director Rusha. Are there any other nominations for second vice chair? Well, this is going more quickly than I thought. Seeing only one nominee for the position of second vice chair, I'd like to see if there's any objection to holding this election by acclamation. Seeing no objection, I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor of Director Whitmore put for the position of second vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Director Whitmore. 3 down, 2 to go. At this time, we'll proceed with nominations for treasurer. Do I hear a nomination?
I'd like to make a nomination.
Please, Director
Thank you.
Nicholson.
I'd like to nominate Director Karen Banker for treasurer. Director Banker is an experienced RTD board member, having served for 8 years, from 1992 to 2000, during which she served as RTD board treasurer, the role that she is being nominated for tonight. In addition, Director Banker served as budget director for the Colorado Department of Labor and senior budget analyst for Governor Romer. In short, Director Banker would enter the role of treasurer with a wealth of direct professional experience that will enable her to excel in the role of treasurer. I have gotten to know Karen well over the past year as a candidate, and while we don't always agree, she is thoughtful, kind, and collaborative. She will be an incredible asset on the executive committee.
Thank you. Is there a second to that nomination of Director Banker?
I would like to second that, Madam Acting Chair. This is Director Rusha.
Yes, Director Rusa. Did you want to offer any comment or just a second?
I would like to second it, and I don't know if I could add anything better than Director Nicholson already has, but I do concur she'd be a wonderful and extraordinary addition to our executive committee, and I am looking forward to working with her in all regards. And I think that concludes our nomination process for this, or at least for this candidate.
Thank you, Director Rusha. Are there any other nominations for treasurer? So I guess seeing only one nominee for the position of treasurer, I'd like to ask if there are any objections to voting in favor of this director for, I'm getting tongue-tied, by acclamation. Are there any objections? Please signify your support by saying aye.
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 Congratulations, Director Baker. And finally, we will proceed to nominations for secretary. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Director Guzman. Michael served as the secretary last year, and he just did an outstanding job in that role. And he has continued to fight on behalf of RTD in all of the battles that we had to fight last year. He has got a strength of character, which is just so appreciated. His ability to stand with his other board members, build relationships, not just here, but in the community, throughout the cities that he represents, the city that he represents, the cities that he doesn't represent, and throughout the state. He has done an amazing job of building those relationships, and I am overwhelmed by my friendship with him, and I'm so proud to nominate him as secretary, and I hope you all will join me.
Thank you, Director Hartwig. Is there a second?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Director Busick.
Director Busick, I would second the nomination of Director Guzman, and I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to see Michael really evolve and grow into the role as director and on the executive committee. He puts himself out there, and he's always trying and working hard to improve. He's involved with the American Public Transportation Association. He attended Harvard Kennedy School's senior executive in state and local government. He works hard, and he's diligent and committed. I think he'd be a great addition to stay on the executive committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Busick, and you beat Director Geisinger to the punch on the second, but she would like to add some comments.
I would briefly. There's a wealth of talent coming in here, but I would also second or third Michael Guzman's nomination. I told Michael I consider him our most improved player. And that's because he came in here and really worked hard to learn what he needed to learn and to contribute. The Harvard School that the Director Busick referred to, he was in the company of the Speaker of the Colorado House and a number of other leaders in the community. It was a real honor to be chosen. He was also chosen among national people to be in the Latinos in Transit Leadership Academy, and I would support this nomination. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Geisinger. Are there any other nominations?
Chair Catlin, I would like to nominate Chris Nicholson for the position. I want to note that I think we are choosing from strength here. I note everything that was said about Michael, and I've already learned a lot watching Director Guzman, and so I want to acknowledge that this is a choice of strength, not one or the other, or one over the other. Chris was the first person to reach out to me after I announced my candidacy to about 3 people on the planet, so I'm not sure how he figured it out. But he came down to Littleton and walked through what he wanted to achieve on the board. And what struck me most about him was urgency for the right things. And if he talked about what he wanted to do with his candidacy and if he was elected, what he'd do on the board. And he's done that with each and every one of the 7 new directors. For his family here, I just want to note that he really was a glue for disparate candidates, and he taught us a lot about the district with the people that he was able to organize. And he spent an unbelievable, maybe 25 hours a day, reaching out and doing work, even though he faced the most competitive race among all of us. And so with that, I wanted to nominate him for this role.
Thank you, Director O'Keefe. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, may I second Director Nicholson's candidacy, and may I say some words too?
Absolutely, Director Pagliari.
Thank you. I just want to say that I echo everything that Director O'Keefe says as well, and also agree with a lot of what Director Hartwig said and the other directors. But Director Chris Nicholson has really proven that he takes this very seriously. From the very beginning, he's coordinated all the incoming directors. He's listened to us. He's treated it like a full-time job, and I can only imagine that it'll continue this energy. But most importantly, we share the same vision for RTD. he is dedicated to the cause, but also sees a more promising future for RTD that I share with myself and which motivated me to run. And so I think he will be a great addition to the executive group, and I ask that you vote for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Pagliari. Are there any other nominations for secretary? Since we do have more than one candidate nominated for the office of secretary, I see Mr. Kroll is distributing the paper ballots to the directors. Now I feel like queen for a day. I get to pick the two people that are going to proctor this vote. I'm going to ask Director Guchenritter. I was trying to get
So
that
you can
right.
say it
Yeah,
again.
just so I can practice saying it. And also, Director Larson, please, if you would do the honor of helping to proctor these votes, over with Melanie Snyder. We'll give it a few minutes here. Thank you. General Counsel Snyder, have you received a text from Director Rusha?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
thank you.
You got the key. Okay.
Chair Catlin, well, they're going to count. I just wanted to note that if you put Guchenrider together with O'Keefe, all the consonants in his name and all the vowels in my name, it makes a real name.
Duly noted.
Wheel of Fortune would take an hour.
I don't know why that was such a struggle for me. My maiden name was 4 syllables long, so. General Counsel Snyder, do we have a candidate who received 8 votes?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Having conferred with election monitors directors Guchin Ryder and Larson, I can confirm that Director Nicholson has received at least 8 votes and has been elected to the position of secretary.
Congratulations, Director Nicholson. Okay, with that, I'd like to be the first to offer my congratulations to the 2025 Executive Committee. Just as a recap, they will be comprised of the following directors: Chair Bouquet, First Vice Chair O'Keefe, Second Vice Chair Whitmore, Treasurer Banker, and Secretary Nicholson. So congratulations to all. That concludes my first opportunity as chair of this board, and I will now turn the proceedings over to our newly elected chair, Director Bouquet, at which point we will trade places.
Thank you very much, Director Catlin. I appreciate it. Before I get going into our schedule, I just wanted to thank you all for your support. And we are at a turning point with RTD, and I'm looking forward to this incoming year. I would like to congratulate all the new directors for joining us. Want to thank those who are continuing with this journey. We have a lot of work to do, but I'm very optimistic about the future of this agency. Now, with that being said, directors and guests, we've come to a bittersweet portion of tonight's meeting. Every 2 years, we are presented with the opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments of those directors who've departed this board and to share our collective appreciation for all they've done during their time. This year, we will be recognizing 7 passionate, dedicated, and honorable public servants who have all left an indelible mark on this board and this agency. Those directors: Director Bob Broom, Director Eric Davidson, Director Bobby Deschelle, Director Jamie Lewis, Director Paul Rosenthal, Director Marjorie Sloan, and Director Doug Tisdale. A proclamation recognizing each of these directors will be read out loud, and then I'll ask if any of the directors would say a few words about each of them. At the end, I'll ask for a consensus vote on all of the proclamations. I see that do we have any returning directors? Director Cole, I see Director Tisdale is here. Director Lewis is here. Director Deschelle. Director Eric Davidson, our former chair. Excellent. And Paul, where's Paul? And Paul Rosenthal was here earlier but has left. It's good seeing you all. So I'm going to move forward and I'm going to ask my colleagues who served with the outgoing directors to share in their recognition tonight. The process from here will be for a proclamation to be read for each of the outgoing directors, and then I will open the floor after all the proclamations have been read for additional comments from the board. Once all proclamations have been read and discussion had, we will vote on the proclamations as a slate. Please hold any applause until after the vote. Following the vote, I will allow any outgoing director who is in attendance a few moments to share some parting wisdom. So I'm going to turn it over now to Director Harwick. Would you read the proclamation for Director Broom?
Whereas the constituents of District F elected Director Bob Broom to represent them on the RTD Board of Directors in 2016 and again in 2020, and whereas Director Broom served faithfully and dutifully on the board for 8 years as an advocate for RTD to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to its customers and community while making lives better through connections, and whereas Director Broom served with distinction in many roles during his tenure, including terms as chair of the GM Oversight and Performance Management Committee, chair of the Tabor Ad Hoc Committee, and chair of the Redistricting Committee. Additionally, he served admirably as a member of Civil Rights Committee, Communications and Government Relations Committee, Financial Administration and Audit Committee, Finance and Planning Committee, Government Relations Committee, and Operations and Customer Services Committee, Planning and Capital Programs, and Fast Tracks Committee, Operations and Safety Committee, the RTD Salaried Employee Trust, and the RTD Salary Employee Defined Contribution Trust. Further, he represented RTD well as a member of the Denver Regional Council of Governments, Regional Transportation Committee, and the E470 Public Highway Authority Board. And whereas Director Broom served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which he helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of Directors, hereby extend our heartiest recommendations to Director Bob Broom for his many contributions to this board over the past 8 years and recognize his steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers.
Thank you, Director Harwick, and again, thank you, Director Broom, for his service. I'm going to now move to Director Geisinger. Would you please read the proclamation for Director Davidson?
Yeah, it is my pleasure and honor to read the proclamation for my good friend Eric Davidson, who served us so well as chair this last year in what was a very busy year. Proclamation in recognition of the contributions made to the Regional Transportation District 2021 through 2024 by Director Eric Davidson. Whereas the Boulder County Commissioners appointed Director Eric Davidson to represent District I on the RTD Board of Directors in 2020, and the constituents of District I elected Director Davidson to represent them on the RTD Board of Directors in 2022. And whereas Director Davidson served faithfully and dutifully on the board for 4 years as an advocate for RTD to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to its customers and community while making lives better through connections. And whereas Director Davidson served with distinction in many leadership roles during his tenure, including terms as chair, second vice chair, chair of the Finance and Planning Committee, chair of the Performance Committee, vice chair of Finance, Administration, and Audit Committees, and vice chair of the Finance and Planning Committee. Additionally, he served admirably as a member of the Audit Committee, the Civil Rights Committee, the Communications and Government Relations Committee, the Planning, Capital Programs, and Fast Tracks Committee, the Operations and Customer Services Committee, the Operations, Safety, and Security Committee, the Audit Ad Hoc Committee, and the Ad Hoc Committee for Safety and Security. Further, he represented RTD well as a member of the Denver Regional Council of Governments, Regional Transportation Committee, and the Northwest Parkway Public Highway Authority Board. Whereas Director Davidson served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which he helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of Directors, hereby extend our heartiest commendations to Director Eric Davidson for his many contributions to this board over the past 4 years and recognize his steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers.
Thank you very much, Director Geisinger, and thank you for your service, former Chair Davidson. I now am going to move to Director Guzman. Would you read the proclamation for Director Deschel?
Happily read this for my brother. Shalom. Proclamation in recognition of the contributions made to the Regional Transportation District, RTD, 2021 through 2024 by Director Bobby Deschel. Whereas the constituents of District D elected Director Bobby Deschel to represent them on the RTD Board of Directors in 2020, and whereas Director Deschel served faithfully and dutifully on the board for 4 years as an advocate for RTD, to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to its customers and community, while making lives better through connections. And whereas Director Deschel served with distinction in many leadership roles during his tenure, including terms as Chair of the Audit Committee, Vice Chair of the Civil Rights Committee, and Vice Chair of the Performance Committee. Additionally, he served admirably as a member of the Communications and Government Relations Committee, the GM Oversight and Performance Management Committee, the Finance, Administration, and Audit Committee, the Finance and Planning Committee, Operations and Customer Services Committee, the Planning, Capital Programs and Fast Tracks Committee, the Audit Ad Hoc Committee, the Ad Hoc Committee for Safety and Security, the Zero Emissions Vehicle, ZEV, Ad Hoc Committee, and the RTD Salaried Employee Pension Trust and the RTD Salary Employee Defined Contribution Trust. Further, he represented RTD well as a member of the Denver Regional Council of Governments Regional Transportation Committee. And whereas Director Deschel served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which he helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of Directors, hereby extend our heartiest commendations to Director Bobby Deschel for his many contributions to this board over the past 4 years and recognize his steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers.
Thank you very much, Director Guzman, and thank you, Director Deschel, for all your years of service. Going now to Director Ruscia. Would you read the proclamation for Director Lewis?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for the honor. It's also nice to call you Mr. Chair. And if you could just kindly remind me, I did have a few comments I wanted to add in relation to Honorable Lewis's service. Can you remind us if that is okay at this time or if there is a more appropriate time to make comment?
There will be time later on.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check. A proclamation in recognition of the contributions made to the Regional Transportation District in 2024 by Director Jamie Lewis. Whereas Denver Mayor Mike Johnson appointed and the Denver City Council confirmed Director Lewis to represent District A on the RTD Board of Directors in February 2024, and whereas Director Lewis served faithfully and dutifully on the board through 2024 as an advocate for RTD to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to customers and community while making lives better through connections. And whereas Director Lewis served with distinction during his tenure, serving on the Operations, Safety, and Security Committee, as well as the Performance Committee. And whereas Director Lewis served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which he helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of the Directors, hereby extend our heartiest commendations to Director Jamie Lewis for his many contributions to this board over his term and recognize his steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers.
Thank you very much, Director Ruscia, and thank you, Director Lewis, for your time serving. I'm going to now move over to Director Busick. Would you please read the proclamation for Director Rosenthal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Whereas the constituents of District E elected Director Paul Rosenthal to represent them on the RTD Board of Directors in 2020, and whereas Director Rosenthal served faithfully and dutifully on the board for 4 years as an advocate for RTD to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to its customers and community while making lives better through connections, and whereas Director Rosenthal served with distinction in many leadership roles during his tenure, including terms as Treasurer, Chair of the Operations and Safety Committee, and Vice Chair of the Operations and Customer Services Committee. Additionally, he served admirably as a member of the Civil Rights Committee, the Communications and Government Relations Committee, the Finance, Administration and Audit Committee, the Finance and Planning Committee, the Planning, Capital Programs and Fast Tracks Committee, the Operations, Safety and Security Committee, the Performance Committee, and the Ad Hoc Committee for Safety and Security. Further, he represented RTD well as a member of the Denver Regional Council of Governments, Regional Transportation Committee, and the Adams County Regional Economic Partnership. And whereas Director Rosenthal served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which he helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability, now therefore be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of Directors, hereby extend our heartiest commendations to Director Paul Rosenthal for his many contributions to this board over the past 4 years and recognize his steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers. Paul où que tu sois. Félicitations et bonne chance, mon ami. À bientôt, Paul.
Thank you, Director Busick, and thank you, Director Rosenthal, for your years of service. I now will go to Director Catlin. Would you read the proclamation for Director Sloan?
I'm delighted to read this proclamation for Director Marjorie Sloan. Whereas the constituents of District M elected Director Marjorie Sloan to represent them on the RTD Board of Directors in 2020, and whereas Director Sloan served faithfully and dutifully on the board for 4 years as an advocate for RTD to be a trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to its customers and community while making lives better through connections. And whereas Director Sloan served with distinction in many leadership roles during her tenure, including terms as Secretary, Vice Chair of the GM Oversight and Performance Management Committee, and Vice Chair of the Performance Committee. Additionally, she served admirably as a member of the Civil Rights Committee, the Communications and Government Relations Committee, the Finance Administration and Audit Committee, the Planning, Capital Programs and Fast Tracks Committee, the Operations and Customer Services Committee, and the Operations Safety and Security Committee. Further, she represented RTD well as a member on the Jefferson County Parkway Public Authority Highway Board and the Jefferson County Transportation Action and Advocacy Group, as well as the Metro Mayor's Caucus. And whereas Director Sloan served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which she helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability. Now therefore be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of Directors, hereby extend our heartiest commendations to Director Marjorie Sloan for her many contributions to this board over the past 4 years and recognize her steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers.
Thank you very much, Director Catlin. And again, thank you, Director Sloan, for your years of service. And last but certainly not least, Director Whitmore, would you read the proclamation for Director Tisdale?
I would be very honored to do so. Whereas the constituents of District H elected Director Doug Tisdale to represent them on the RTD Board of Directors in 2016 and again in 2020, and whereas Director Tisdale served faithfully and dutifully on the board for 8 years as an advocate for RTD to be the trusted leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to its customers and community while making lives better through connections, and deep breath, because this is a long paragraph. I can do it. Whereas Director Tisdale served with distinction in many, I emphasize many leadership roles during his tenure, including terms as chair 2 times, chair of the Civil Rights Committee, chair of the Finance and Planning Committee, chair of the American Public Transit Association Transit Board Members Committee, and chair of the Denver Downtown Development Authority. Additionally, he served admirably as a member of the Communications and Government Relations Committee, Financial Administration and Audit Committee, Government Relations Committee, Operations and Customer Services Committee, Planning, Capital Programs and Fast Tracks Committee, Operations and Safety Committee, Performance Committee, and the Ad Hoc Committee for Oversight of Certain Litigations, the Ad Hoc Committee for Committee Restructure, and further, he represented RTD well as a member of the C-470 Corridor Coalition, the Denver Regional Council of Governments Regional Transportation Committee, the E-470 Public Highway Authority Board, and the Metro Mayor's Caucus. And whereas Director Tisdale served on the board during a time of tremendous progress for RTD, during which he helped guide the organization to ensure its long-term viability and sustainability. Now therefore be it resolved by the RTD Board of Directors that we, the Board of Directors, hereby extend our heartiest commendations to Director Doug Tisdale for his many contributions to this board over the past 8 years and recognize his steadfast dedication to RTD and its customers. Communicate, collaborate, cooperate.
At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the proclamations as presented in the board packet.
Second.
I got Whitmore as the mover and Catlin as the second. Would anyone like to share a few words about the departing directors at this time? Oh, yeah. I see Director Rusha online. Director Rusha, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Um, so I just wanted to take a few moments and follow the rules, unlike some of my other fellow directors. I wanted to add a few more comments to Director Lewis's term in service. Director Lewis did more for riders with disabilities in 10 months that most of us could do in 10 years, which, as you're aware, would exceed our maximum allowable consecutive time on the board, as we can only serve 2 4-year terms. And I think that's really extraordinary. I know we don't generally address members of the audience, but I don't trust that our chair is going to cut my mic. So my friend Jamie, directly to you, I just want to say, I'm sorry I couldn't be there today in person, but I know that I will be looking across the room by instinct next month and the months after in anticipation of what you have to share with us. More than a friend, you've been a mentor. We worked on transit issues before we earned these titles, and I know our partnership does not end tonight, but it still feels incredibly bittersweet. And I would also add that when you exit an office, you retain the title of the honorable. And so you came to us as an honorable former mayor, and you will leave us as an honorable former director of RTD. But there are few people, I think, who have held this title or sat in this boardroom who have carried that banner of being honorable as you have. And so thank you very much for your service, your generosity, your grace, and what you brought to this team last year. You will be greatly missed. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Director Risha. So I will have to just see some hands up from our directors. We used to have our virtual system, but are there any directors who would like to make comments? Yes, Director Pagliari, sorry, Brett, how do you pronounce it?
Pagliari.
Pagliari, thank you.
I just want to say thank you all to the departing directors. Thank you all very much. Specifically, thank you to Director Marjorie Sloan for representing District M, and thank you so much for outgoing Director and Chair Davidson.
Thank you very much, Director Pagliari. Director Banker.
I just also want to thank everyone that has served previously, and also especially former Chair Eric Davidson. He has led RTD. He is financially savvy, which I greatly admire. He's had some challenges here at RTD, and he led the agency through them. It's going to be very difficult to follow in your footsteps, but you've done so much for this agency, and I just want to very much thank you for all the hard work, because I know how much you care and how much work you put into this agency, and it is appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Banker. Director Catlin.
Oh, thank you. I saw Director Busick's hand up as well. I wanted to thank all of the departing directors. Each and every one of you in your own way has certainly enriched my time on the board, beginning with Director Tisdale, where I served as his first vice chair in my very first year. As some of you have been elected in your first term to serve on the executive committee, and then ending certainly with Director Davidson, who, as Director Baker pointed out, just served remarkably as chair this past year. But I also wanted to thank each of the rest of you, Director Sloan, Director Lewis, Director Michelle, I'm looking, and Director Rosenthal. You have all contributed immensely to this organization, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will miss you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Catlin. I see Director Busick next.
Thanks, Chair. And I will echo the comments of Director Catlin. Thanks to all of you who are here present, but I specifically want to call out Director Tisdale. And I really want to thank you because you have been a fixture here for 8 years and have been our chief parliamentarian, chair, chair squared. You've been the chair, well, I should probably say chair to the fifth power. You've chaired a lot of important entities that we're all involved with and have represented RTD well. So I thank you for that. And with that, Director Tisdale, I call the question.
Thank you very much, Director Busick. I see Director Whitmore next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I echo the thank yous to all of my colleagues in the audience and those that are not here. It has been an unbelievable experience to learn from each and every one of you, to find our common goals, but to learn from each and every one of you. So former Chair Davidson, you've been amazing, and I've learned so much from you, and I thank you for your service. I see the Deschel family, and I'm just thrilled to see Micah here, and Bobby and I really didn't know each other until we got to be board members and then found out we have some common background and some common things in our work worlds, at least his current work world. Mine's somewhat past now. And I've enjoyed very much learning and getting to know you. You know, and then I sat between Bob Broom and Jamie Lewis, and to speak about Bob Broom, you have to do it briefly because he was brief. I just want to say to Bob, what a savvy mind and what a funny guy, and I will miss his sense of humor and his brevity. Jamie is a smart aleck just like I am. And we had a lot of good laughs to try and keep things lighthearted. And to echo Joyanne, you've done far more, even though you were a tremendously effective board member before you became a board member for RTD and our transit customers. So I appreciate you, and I've learned greatly from you. I'm going to miss Paul Rosenthal's laugh. I mean, he could lighten the spirits in the room. And I really will miss Paul as well. And I had some good ventures to Washington, D.C. with Paul, and got to spend a lot of time getting to know him. And, you know, I'd be remiss without mentioning Director Tisdale, former chair of everything, Director Tisdale. I do want to really make sure, and I know this is near and dear to you, that we thank you for your apt representation and really elevating this organization in that very fine organization that represents us well. Thank you for what you've done there. We will struggle to take your place, but we will do so in your honor. So I do appreciate that, Doug. And for those I didn't mention, I certainly did enjoy serving with everyone, and it's been an honor to serve with you all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Director Whitmore. I saw Director O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a lot of people have been very helpful as I've gotten ready for this role. I wanted to note just a couple of the outgoing directors. Obviously, Doug Tisdale is big shoes to fill, or maybe a big pipe to fill. I don't. And I don't have a wood-burning fireplace either. But he has graciously spent time. It feels like every few weeks or month, and has given his brain and his thoughts to me as I've gotten ready for this. I wanted to note the shortest serving director, but probably the one with the biggest heart, Jamie Lewis. And I hope I can emulate, Jamie's heart and Doug's brain and pipe.
Thank you very much, Director O'Keefe. I see Director Harwick next.
I'm gonna follow up with a Doug in a pipe joke. I don't remember. I'd only been on the board for like a month or two, and I think I was on fire about something and really excited. And I'm looking. We're on Zoom, and I look down, and there's Doug just lighting his pipe, and I was like, dude, you were stealing my thunder. Like, I can't take my own self seriously when you're just lighting that pipe. And thank you for that, because it will like live on in my memory forever. But I have so enjoyed your brain, your wit, your feistiness, and just your general demeanor. So thank you, Doug. Jamie, I got to go with everybody else here. I mean, 1 year, and I feel like you really you came to play, and you were insightful. You asked good questions. You pressed. Maybe sometimes harder than everybody liked, but you did. You pressed, and it was good, and it was important. And I really just can't say how proud I am to have served with you. I'm glad I called the mayor's office and said you should do that. For Chair Davidson, Eric, you were a rock in a time when we needed you to be a rock. You went toe to toe with the governor, and you won. And he doesn't lose a lot, but he did here, and we owe it to you. And I always appreciated when we would talk, you would listen, and I felt like we always got something good from the end of that conversation. And Bobby, there's just a camaraderie there and a friendship there that I hope it lasts well beyond this. And I'm excited that you now get to experience this beautiful joy. And I'm so excited for you and have just enjoyed your friendship.
Thank you very much, Director Harwick. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. Deborah Johnson, General Manager and CEO. I'd be remiss if I didn't take this moment in time to express my gratitude and appreciation for the selfless service of our immediate past directors. Director Broom, I can reflect on when I first came into the agency and speaking to him about his experience being a public administrator, having served as a city manager, and his insights and wins relative to an oftentimes what could appear to be a thankless job when you choose to be a servant leader. As it relates to Director Bobby Deschelle, I want to thank you as we had a myriad of conversations relative to talking about the criticalness of having an internal audit function, your willingness to step up and lead in the face of adversity, recognizing that it was quite important in order to ensure that we were collectively being good fiduciaries. Director Lewis, thank you so much. I had the opportunity to actually work with you prior to your appointment on the board, having come into this area and reached out to the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition and our meetings relative to some of the critical issues that we're facing our customer base in reference to accessibility. I appreciate you being that champion, and I look forward to continuing our engagements in our monthly meetings, especially as we look at what's on the horizon by ensuring equitable service delivery for all individuals. Director Paul Rosenthal, once again, I had the opportunity to engage with him on several issues, specifically as it relates to Aurora and the City of County of Denver, with his stints working in the former mayoral administration and the current one. With Director Sloan, we had great times with the ride-alongs, being able to be oriented to her district, understanding the I would say, admiration and wants as it relates to the bridge in Lakewood that we have been working on. Director Tisdale, thank you for your constant leadership, for being the voice of transit. I know you and I will still engage as being board members with the American Public Transportation Foundation Board. And last but certainly not least, immediate past chair, Director Davidson, thank you for your steadfast leadership. Thank you for always going above and beyond, and thank you for your bias to action. On behalf of the many men and women that comprise this agency, we thank you all for your dedicated and selfless service. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield the floor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. I see Director Nicholson next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Chris Nicholson. So when I was a former audience member at the December meeting, had the opportunity to speak extensively about the most recent director from District A, Director Lewis, as well as my friend, Director Rosenthal. So I'm not going to repeat my remarks now about the two of them, but I want to address two directors that I didn't speak about back then. The first, Director Deschel, when I first decided to run for this office, he and I got coffee, and he sat me down and gave me some of the most important advice that I received in choosing to be a part of RTD. And he may not have even realized it at the time, but it shaped a great deal of what this has turned into for me, and I really have appreciated it ever since. And then on the sort of bookend of that, Director Davidson has been an incredible advisor and mentor to me, especially since winning the seat, and has given me an incredible amount of really helpful advice on how to be a member of the board. And so I really just wanted to thank the both of you for your continued guidance. And Eric, I will continue to text and call you on a regular basis. So I appreciate your continued service to the board of directors.
Thank you very much, Director Nicholson. Director Geisinger.
Thank you very much. A lot of good things have been said. There's not much left, but I'm going to miss you all very much. One thing that I can say about all of this group is that you could always count on them for very insightful comments and hard questions. And I think that's the essence of leadership. And we got that from all of you here, and from Directors Broom and Rosenthal and Sloan. Director Broom, of course, was few words, smart guy, right? And for the people here, Doug Tisdale was always a phone call away when I was trying to think something through, that especially if it took some history and all of that. And I really appreciate what he brought to us. As others have said, Jamie Lewis, outstanding job. What were you on, 3 months? No, 11 months? Yeah, I know it wasn't 3. But he did a great job of just stepping in. And Bobby, always a leader in our sustainability policy that we all worked on together. That was a very important piece, a leader in the audit, and great questions. And Eric Davidson has just been a fabulous chair. I'll miss you. We've worked on a lot of things very closely, and looking forward to your next exciting steps in life.
Thank you very much, Director Geisinger. Are there any further comments from directors? I do see Director Ruscha's hand up. Another bite at the apple?
Yes, sir, but not the whole orchard, I promise.
Go ahead, Director Ruscha.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you all know, I don't really talk very much. I actually did write notes for every exiting board member, but then I was afraid Busick would call the question. But I did in fact write personal notes to all of our exiting directors last month. That being said, I did want to just speak to those whom I believe are still in the audience now. Eric, you started your chairmanship last year with a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, and you ended it with a quote from Fred Rogers. And so for those of you who don't know Eric, that is Eric. And I enjoyed serving with you, and you challenged me, and you have a heart of gold, and you're the salt of the earth. Bobby, younger than me on a technicality, but always felt like a big brother nonetheless. I will never forget when you used the word squishy in committee, as in, let's say what we mean and mean what we say. You are a phenomenal attorney, and your attention to detail and your commitment to this organization was impressive. You were also a mentor, and I am so happy for Micah and this new chapter in your life, but I miss you already. And Doug, I leaned in a lot to our relationship more and more in 2024 as I became more involved in APTA, thanks to you, and as you led our Finance and Planning Committee. And wow, if I couldn't get my thoughts together succinctly, you sure did help. You also told me once not to die on every hill, and I'm learning not to die on every hill, but I have a few more lives left, and I have no doubt when I am trying to figure out which hill to die on or how to collect my thoughts, I will still give you a call, and I know you will answer. There is no other Doug but Doug. And while we don't have formal awards for these, I think we can all say no one will ever have a Zoom background as awesome as Doug Tisdale's. So for many reasons, I will miss you, my friend. And thank you so much for your service to RTD and your generosity of time to your fellow directors over the years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Rusha. Are there any further comments?
Joanne, I take offense to that. I love my background.
Second place. Second place.
Excellent. So I will take a quick chair privilege. I will not address all of you individually because you're so talented in the comments that have been said already. Just embark on who you all as people are, but ultimately who you all as public servants are too. And for those sitting in these seats and for those who've sat in the seats before, we all join with the ambition to make lives better through connections. I truly believe that we each have a passion to better our communities, to better transit. And for each and every one of you, you walk away with this board, and I truly believe you have made a betterment to each and every one of your communities. So I cannot thank you enough for your service. Thank you. With that being said, I'd like to call for the vote. Is there any opposition from the board to the adoption of the proclamations? Hearing none, the proclamations are adopted. I'd like to note that a flag for each of the outgoing directors was flown over the Colorado State Capitol in honor of their years of service. I personally want to thank all the outgoing directors once again for their guidance, their governance, and their mentorship, and everything that you've contributed to the board. At this time, I will open the floor briefly to any outgoing directors who may wish to address the board. If you'd like to do so, please head to the lectern and deliver your remarks.
Thank you. When I started 11 months ago, I was 38 years old. You guys aged me. On the 31st, my official last day, I went back to my old job, which is transit advisor for the Colorado Cross Disability Coalition. So I just want to let you know that I'm not going very far. And we have a lot of work to do this year, especially with access on demand, healthy bus stops and other issues. Just wanted to share, I was at a webinar this morning, and it was a really fantastic webinar for transportation. There was a lot of people from the United States across the country that were there, Canadians, Europeans, even the country of Africa had representatives. And one of the common themes that kept coming up is that transit has value. And if that's anything that you can put on your priority list this year, is to make sure that our community knows that transit is value. And so I look forward to working with you on a variety of work subjects this year. But let's make sure that that's a bedrock value that we need to really push, so people know that yes, they have choices. Yes, they can get into their car, but there's a value that they could also use, and that is called public transportation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Former
much.
Chair Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations to all the newly elected directors. Congratulations to those of you that are now officers. Thank you for being willing to step up and serve. And thank you very much for the generous and kind comments to those of us who are outgoing. I'll keep it brief. I had a lot to say in December at my last meeting. There's a few things I just wanted to touch on. I'm going to be serious on one issue and plug one issue. So sorry for the beating of a dead horse here, but revenue diversification. This agency is very dependent on a single source of revenue. Our long-term forecasts and projections that we've laid out suggest that we will have shortfalls in the 2030s. It's this board's duty to have a long-term, long-range thinking on that, be planning for that, especially now. There's time to be thinking about that. So I would be remiss if I didn't plug, thanks to some great work by members of the board here. I'll call out, as I have before, Director Geisinger for her amazing work on the Tabor ballot initiative. The voters did decide to exempt RTD from Tabor, and now that was a first step. We need to be thinking creatively about what we are going to do to make sure the 2030s are sound and this transportation system is well taken care of and can continue to operate for future generations. So with that being said, please keep an eye on that. Please watch that. Please continue the work around revenue diversification. I'm always here to be a thought partner. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not losing my passion for making sure this agency is sustainable. So on a lighter note, I just would like to, again, I've said a number of times, thank you very much. To members of the board, I am leaving here with a number of new friends. We were colleagues through thick and thin. It was a real pleasure serving with each and every single one of you. I'm honored to walk away with more friends than I started. And the same is true for members of our team at RTD as well. It has been a real privilege to work with each and every one of you, especially this last year, having the opportunity to serve as chair. I've opportunity to work so closely with all of you. And again, I'm so delighted to leave here with friends, more friends than when I started. And finally, I said this in December, not everybody's aware that public service is a family affair. So I know my lovely wife, Anastasia, is watching at home, and I once again would like to thank her for being part of serving our community together, for being a thought partner, for being a rock, for having my back every step of the way, no matter how difficult this job was, and no matter how difficult anything else going on in life was. Stace, thank you. With that, Godspeed. Well, thank you.
Director Deschelle?
No, but I did bring him to show up. Thank you guys, thank you all for the incredibly kind words. A few departing words, no thank you. I did bring Mike up here intentionally, A, because you all during our time, but B, to ground us in what we're doing. The decisions you make today, schedule changes, yes, these are a number of sort of shorter term, but the vast majority of decisions that we make today are for him, are for his generation. Our infrastructure investments, our lack of investment, how we choose to treat our employees or not, that has major effects down the road. It's why I do it, it's why I did it. And so I brought him up here to also ground us in, why, for me, why so many of us do the work. Why we passed making sure that kids can get to school for free or zero fare. It's not free, it's the cost. And the amazing work that went on for sustainability, right? The best way that we can lower emissions is getting people out of single occupancy vehicles. And it's even better to have an incredible sustainability plan put forward for how we get ourselves to ZEV. I know. On the serious note, I think keeping in mind, we are public fiduciaries, the numbers are big, and they can be big, but there's a reason why we're entrusted for it. And you've all heard me make the many a joke of the person who flew into town and paid cash and trying to give that person a Tabor refund, which is no longer an issue, is very good and very important. but keeping an eye on our debt, revenue diversification, keeping an eye on audit. There's a reason we do it. It's best practice in the private sector and the public sector. And on each of those is critically important. Finally, if you ask for something from staff, please ask. It's a huge part of someone's day. It's a huge part of someone's time. And really understanding that the way in which you ask the question, the what you were trying to get to, is really important. And finally, to Micah, to my wife, Sarah, thank you both. Every time I said yes to this, it's saying no to them. So thank you all. And thank you guys for letting me continue to do this, to serve for the 4 years I did. And with that, best of luck. Don't be a stranger. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you very much. Director Tisdale.
May it please the board, good evening. My name is Doug Tisdale. 100 months ago, I stood at this podium in order to introduce myself to the board as a candidate for the RTD. 3,000 days later, I come before you to say farewell. That word has two parts, farewell, and that's what I wish. I strove to communicate, to collaborate, and to cooperate with you, with your predecessors, and with the 3 general managers that I had, each of them more talented than the last. I urge you all, please, make this room a place where you will let 100 flowers bloom and 100 schools of thought contend. Out of that diversity, RTD will thrive, prosper, and succeed. So my final prayer to all of you is be well, be safe, be happy. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you for your service. Greatly appreciated. So moving on, there is one recommended action on the agenda tonight listed as item 7, action A, and that item is for the 2025 RTD Board of Directors meeting posting location for the Board of Directors to designate the board meeting portal on the RTD public website, which is https://rtd.iqm2.com as its official location for posting of notices of all public meetings in 2025 as required by sections 24, 6, 402 in CRS. Do I have a motion?
Busick, so moved.
Busick as the mover and Director Nicholson as the second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll now call for the vote. Are there any no votes on this motion? Perfect. With 15 ayes and 0 noes and 0 absentees, this motion will pass. So the final 2024 board and committee minutes were included in the board packet. Are there any corrections from the directors at this time? Seeing none, unless there is an objection to considering these minutes of all at the same time, may I please have a motion to approve the minutes for the following meetings? Let me read the meetings. December 3rd, 2024, special board meeting. December 3rd, 2024, board meeting. December 10th, 2024, special board meeting. December 10th, 2024, performance committee.
So moved.
Who's the mover? Sorry. Director Nicholson, and a second.
Second.
Second is Director Geisinger. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll now call for a vote. Are there any no votes? Okay, the motion will pass with 15 ayes, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions. So at this
Point
time,
of order, just a quick question.
Yes.
Since we were not there and we weren't as directors, I would like to abstain just because I have no knowledge of what occurred.
sounds good. So I have 14 aye votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstention from Director Chandler. Are there any new directors who would also like to abstain? Sounds good. So the motion will pass 14-0. 1. Are there any other matters at this time to discuss in this regular scheduled board meeting? So I propose we do a 10-minute break before we go into executive session. Sounds good. We'll go into executive session and then take the break prior to executive session. So in the moment, the board will meet in executive session to discuss personal matters regarding the GM CEO's 2025 performance goals. I'd like to amend the motion to move into executive session to state that the board meeting will be deemed adjourned after it adjourns into the executive session. For public transparency, this means that once the board moves into executive session, the main meeting will be adjourned. I will now entertain a motion to move into executive session to discuss the following. To 24-6-402 for consideration of personal matters regarding the general manager and CEO's 2025 performance goals and input from the board of directors on the same.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Director Risha.
I apologize. I had my hand up during other matters and I couldn't get your attention as you started. Now that well, I really miss Director Tisdale because I don't know where we are in parliamentary procedure because we've gone to the next part of the agenda.
I believe I can listen to what the other matters are before we're going into executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will keep this brief. I know we don't ordinarily speak in response to public comment, but I just wanted to say that for every ATU member who showed up tonight or gave us a call or wrote an email, I wanted to say thank you, and I listened, and I appreciate everything that our frontline staff do for us every single day. And as a card-carrying union member who grew up in a union household, I wanted to add a personal note that an injury to one is an injury to us all. And thank you for speaking up and for your service.
Thank you very much, Director Risha. My apologies for missing your hand on that. Any other matters? Okay. So again, I'll just continue where we're at. I will now entertain a motion to move into executive session to discuss the following. Pursuant to 24-6-402 for consideration of personal matters regarding the general manager and CEO's 2025 performance goals and input from the board of directors on the same. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Guzman.
Guzman is the mover. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have Director Geisinger as the second. Are there any no votes? So at this time, the main meeting is adjourned into executive session at 7:17 p.m. For all those who are expected to attend, would you please stay seated? And for everyone else, would you please vacate the room at this time? Take all your belongings with you. While we transition as quickly as possible, please allow staff a few minutes to switch everything over from the public meeting to the executive session. As a note, we will be taking, let's do a 10-minute break. Thank you all.